A burned-out game developer spends his nights debugging a single character, a scheming villain in the dark fantasy game his whole studio is betting everything on. This villain, Deculein, is doomed. No matter what route the player takes, he dies the same way, a blade in the back from his own fiancée, payment for a lifetime of schemes. And here's the cruel joke. The developer modeled that hated villain on himself. Same face, same cold, lonely personality. Even his co-worker laughs that she kills Deculein on sight. Then one impossible night, the sky tears open above him, and a bolt of lightning swallows the world. He wakes inside his own game, in the body of the villain he built. He has become Deculein, the man fated to die, the man who cannot escape death no matter what he does. Everyone around him already despises him. A vile, arrogant noble surrounded by enemies, counting down to a death scene the developer himself wrote. But he has one impossible advantage. He built this world. He tested it 1,000 times. He knows every route, every secret, every way this story can break. And he's going to use every last bit of it to do the one thing his villain was never meant to do: survive. This is a villain's will to survive. What's up, everyone? And welcome back to Apex Manhwa, your home for handcrafted manhwa recaps. If you're enjoying the story, do me a quick favor. Smash that like button, hit subscribe so you never miss a recap, and tell me what you think down in the comments. I read every single one. All right, let's get into it. Meet our hero, a tired game developer named Woojin, pulling yet another all-nighter at his studio. His studio, REW, is making a console game in South Korea, a place the industry calls a wasteland for console titles. It's a massive gamble. Their game is special. Its difficulty and its entire story bend around the player's choices, countless branching routes, total freedom to play however you want. Which means the stakes are brutal. If it sells, Woojin is rich. If it flops, the whole studio collapses with it. Everything rides on this one game. Tonight, he's finally squashed a nasty bug in one specific character, a scheming villain with so many possible routes that he kept crashing the game. The character's name is Deculein, and in this route, his cause of death is fixed, a stab wound from his own fiancée. Fitting, really, for everything he schemed. Then an old wound walks in. His co-worker, an ex-girlfriend. 7 years together, all that happiness, until they broke up in the end. She was the born workaholic, all ambition, and being near her once made the lazy Woojin a better man. Now, he hears she already has someone new. Stop being so petty and get back to the bugs, she teases. I hope you marry the guy. He swallows it and forces a smile. Then she drops a bomb. You know the model for this villain Deculein, she says, was you. Same face. And your personalities, she adds, are pretty similar too. That's exactly why she laughs. I kill him the second I meet him in-game. Woojin just stares. The villain everyone executes on sight is him. Alone again, he opens Deculein's character sheet. 6 attributes. A childhood magical genius. The whiz-kid trait, twisted by his arrogance and noble blood into someone insufferable. He's meant to grow stronger as the story goes on, Woojin notes, but right now, he's already surrounded by people who hate him. A villain with no allies and a death sentence. On a whim, Woojin had stuffed the character full of flattering traits, comprehension, empathy, all the good ones, then felt a little ashamed of himself for it. So he decides to revert Deculein back to his original, hateful self before it causes a problem. He reaches for the keyboard, planning to undo it all. An email pings from the story's writer, the mysterious developer Rain, who says they've just been waiting to take a look at the model. Something about it feels off. Then he glances out the window, and the sky itself is wrong. A vast, impossible tear splits the heavens. What? He breathes. The hell is that? A strange voice echoes through the light. Be wary of him, child, it warns. Always. Deculein is no tame man, however hesitant he may seem now. He is a vile villain. And then the lightning takes Woojin completely. He wakes days later in a stranger's bed to a furious maid. How long will you mope over some woman? She snaps. Get up and go to work. or you'll be fired and shame this entire household. And the horrible truth settles over him. The strange sky, the familiar halls, it's all real. He's fallen into the world of his own game and become the villain. Deculein, the man fated to die. A week passes, and the sheer, realistic weight of this life forces him to accept it. This is no dream. He has literally become the villain of the game he was building, Deculein von Deculein. The middle boss created for one purpose, to die. And he knows just how doomed that is. In 1,000 playthroughs during development, across every branching route, this character survived exactly once. The furious woman throwing papers at him isn't a maid. She's Uriel, Deculein's half-sister, here to drag him out of bed. Get up right now. She snaps, unless you want to be fired from your fancy professor's job. He blinks. Professor? The lecture, apparently, is today, and his survival instinct kicks in. Primary goal, he decides, become necessary to this game's story. A character the plot can't afford to kill off. He checks his new body's traits, and one stops him cold. Comprehension, a unique grade attribute, the ability to understand almost anything that normally only appears late in the game. He has it now. There's more. Intimidation and dignity. Aesthetic sense. The lazy Korean office worker suddenly wears noble silks like he was born in them. It's unsettling. He doesn't even feel the urge to be rude or crude anymore. Deculein's elegant nature is bleeding into his own mind. But underneath, he holds on. I'm still Kim Woo-jin, he reminds himself. A completely ordinary, lazy man from South Korea. I am not going to lose myself to this villain. On the way out, a terrified young man greets him. Alan, Deculein's assistant of 3 loyal years, whom the real Deculein clearly treated like dirt. Alan hands him a folder with the entire lecture prepared from start to finish. He did all the work. The old Deculein never even thanked him. Good work, Woo-jin says simply. Get some rest until we arrive. Alan nearly faints. Master gave a compliment? Yes, sir, understood, he stammers, glowing. Just how terrible a person was I? Woo-jin wonders, when basic kindness leaves my own staff in shock. It really does turn his stomach. They arrive at his workplace, the prestigious Imperial University, where head professor Deculein is famous as a child prodigy master of spell interpretation. The students swoon. He's handsome, he's brilliant. He steps up to begin his very first lecture, playing the role perfectly. And then a student shoots to her feet, shaking with hate, and screams it across the hall. Deculein, you trash bastard. To be continued. The girl who screamed has a reason. 3 years ago, her father, a brilliant scholar of spell interpretation, took his own life. Because someone stole his life's research, the thesis that earned him the title Genius Spell Interpreter, and claimed the genius for himself. With her father gone, she lost everything, her noble house, her territory, her name. So she made a single pledge, revenge on the thief. And the thief is Deculein. She fought her way into this very university to expose him, because she alone knows his celebrated genius is built on her dead father's stolen work. That position, she sees, watching him, should have been my father's. Every cheer for the great professor is salt in a 3-year-old wound. Unaware of all this, our hero begins the lecture, introducing himself as head professor and a monarch mage said to command the elements themselves. He doesn't actually know the theory, but with comprehension active, every word on Alan's script floods into his mind, perfectly understood, as if it were his own. He even improvises real wisdom. Hard work matters, he tells them, but if you lack talent, you must choose your focus and pour everything into it. The students hang on every word. Then Ephraim springs her trap. A mysterious spell was found in the dorms last night, she announces, one the magic tower itself refuses to analyze. If you're truly a genius, interpret it. It's a death sentence because comprehension devours mana, and that single lecture has already drained him to almost nothing. Running on fumes, he looks at the tangled spell circle, and comprehension fires anyway, dropping his mana to a sliver. It's a bewitchment-type barrier spell, he says calmly. Someone meant to trap you all with it. The hall goes silent. He read instantly what the entire magic tower couldn't. It's nearly impossible, the experts marvel. Bewitchment magic needs precise parameters, yet he identified it cold, with nothing to go on. Even the timid student Ephraim, whose name he kindly adds to the official report, is stunned. Isn't Deculein, she thinks despite herself, truly amazing? But the vengeful Ephraim only grits her teeth. Know your enemy, she tells herself, signing up for his class. Just you wait, Deculein. I will expose you soon. To be continued. That stunt nearly killed him. Comprehension fired on its own the instant he saw the spell, draining every drop of mana he had left, and he still couldn't fully grasp it. Then, in the hall, a woman with white hair and pale eyes greets him, a face he's seen 1,000 times on his own monitor. Julie von der Frieden, Deculein's fiancée, and a named character destined to one day become the pinnacle of knighthood. The single most dangerous person to him alive. Are you trying to run? She says, blocking his path. Like before? Again? He realizes, inherited Deculein's habit of fleeing this woman. Promise me, she says quietly. If you can be truthful with yourself and confess your pretenses and your arrogance to everyone, then I will keep our engagement, even if this world crumbles. Their engagement was pure politics, a gifted mage and a gifted knight, two great noble houses bound for mutual benefit. She accepted a loveless marriage without complaint. What she cannot accept is the lie that his celebrated talent was stolen and fake. That, she says, is my conviction as a knight. The truth, above all. You are not going to keep our promise until the very end, she says, reading his silence. Are you? And she walks away, the blade fated to end him already doubting his soul. Walking the campus, a bittersweet ache hits him. His team poured countless nights into building this exact atmosphere, this beautiful university, pixel by pixel. It would have been so much nicer, he thinks, to experience it in anyone's body but the doomed villains. But there's no time for nostalgia. He also discovers a useful new trait, sharp eyesight, a rare ability to perceive a person's attributes, their potential, even hidden danger, at a glance. A spy's eye, perfect for spotting threats early. Alone, he finally faces the full horror of his situation. A villain's fate, the system calls it. The whole world wishes for Deculein's death. A sword to the heart, a wand to the head, poison in the wine, a bomb in the dark. The method changes, but the ending never does. He dies. If I want to live, he understands, I have to change something. I have to become a variable this story cannot predict. He also notices something cruel. The talented Ephraim has zero sponsors, because everyone is too afraid of what the villain Deculein might do if they dared support his enemy. His plan crystallizes. I need a great deal of money, he decides, because many of these death routes can simply be bought away. But money won't be enough. Too many people want me dead. To truly survive, he resolves, I need a way out. I need to become strong. To be continued. The problem is that Deculein's actual talent is painfully average. At this rate, he can't possibly answer the deaths still coming for him. But he spots an edge. Deculein can't truly command all four elements like he brags. Yet he has real potential in manipulating earth and fire. That talent feeds another hidden trait, what sounds grand as chi-controlled levitating blades, but is really just raw, sharpened telekinesis. And telekinesis he can build. He sits to study, and with comprehension, the entire theory of basic telekinesis pours straight into his head, no years of training required. Then he gambles on something only possible in this world. To amplify his power, he'll carve magic circles across his own body, turning himself into a living spell. The pain is beyond anything, like every bone in his body breaking at once. And he refuses to so much as groan. That, he tells himself through gritted teeth, is the elegance demanded of a noble. He endures it in perfect silence. His mana gives out before he finishes. This will take 2 weeks to spread across his whole body, but it's a start. Inch by agonizing inch, the powerless villain is becoming dangerous. A month after his seminar opens, the first real class, and he simply tells the students to go study the elements by themselves. What kind of irresponsible professor, they grumble, does that? telling first years to study by themselves on day one. They mutter, "What an irresponsible man." They have no idea he's secretly carving his own body into a weapon between classes. Then a striking noblewoman strides in, Sylvia von Josephine Elade, and looks straight at him without a flicker of recognition. Does she truly not remember me? He wonders, unsettled. 10 years is not so long. But to the powerful Elades, crushing a rival family was apparently too small a thing to recall. Which is strange because 10 years ago, the Elade family surrounded Deculean's manor with troops and threatened his family, terrified of his father's potential. And his. Worse, he feels it. His gathered mana is being quietly siphoned away, pulled towards Sylvia. She's stealing the very power the students collected. "Do you realize," he says coldly, "that you're taking everything I gathered?" She doesn't even respond, acting as if the great Deculein isn't worth hearing. And then she goes too far. "After your family was ruined," she sneers, "after your father took his own life." He turns very slowly. "What," he says, "did you just say?" To be continued. Sylvia mocks his dead father to his face, and the fragile piece shatters. "You dare insult my father." A furious student snaps, and mana erupts. Two students' powers collide and tear open a void, right where their mana met. It begins to swell, unstable and screaming. It's going to explode, someone shrieks. When it does, the metal shards will burst out like bullets, and everyone in this room will die. And then silence. The blast simply stops. The deadly fragments hang frozen in the air, suspended an inch from a dozen faces. Deculein has caught them all with telekinesis. To the watching students, it looks like flawless, dazzling enchantment magic, power none of them can deny. He stops the lecture and summons a disciplinary hearing. But the deck is stacked. The committee will side with the highborn Sylvia over Ephraim, the fallen noble who's practically a commoner. And that terrifies him, because with his sharp eyesight, he can see the scarlet glow of a villain's fate pouring off Ephraim. If she falls here, his own death draws closer. The committee rounds on Ephraim. "How dare you cause violence in these halls? Someone could have died." They've already decided to expel her. So Deculein flips the entire room with a single question, aimed not at Ephraim, but at Sylvia. "Do you truly believe," he asks, "that you had no fault in this incident? You could clearly have prevented it." He presses and chose not to. Or perhaps your abilities simply weren't enough. Cornered between guilt and pride, Sylvia has no answer. The chairwoman seizes the opening. "Children fight as they grow," she declares. "No disciplinary action. Both of you return to class." Ephraim, braced for expulsion, can only stare. "You have quite the extraordinary way of reading a situation," the chairwoman tells him, impressed. Exactly as expected of head Professor Deculein. But Ephraim corners him after, trembling. "If you remember the name Luna," she says, "if you know my father suffered his whole life under you before taking his own, then why? Why help me?" To be continued. Ephraim's mind races. What if he only saved me to protect himself? But if he doesn't even remember my father at all, wouldn't that be the most heartbreaking truth of all? "You don't have to ask," Deculein tells her quietly. And in that moment she knows he does remember. He knows exactly who her father was. He must feel some responsibility, she decides, and that's why he stepped in. For now, she tells herself, that is enough. The hatred wavers just slightly, and then the story reveals the real stakes. Both Ephraim and Sylvia carry the talent to become archmages. Archmages are the absolute pinnacle of magic, beings even the Emperor cannot touch, their names carved across the history of the continent. And two of those legendary seats sit empty. Sylvia, heir of the great Elade house, and Ephraim, of its fallen collateral branch, are fated to fight for them. And it's personal. 10 years ago, the Elades pressured every patron away from the Luna family, not out of fear of the daughter, but because they could not allow a rival bloodline to ever rise again. Sylvia, shaken, warns her own people. "Don't worry about the girl," she says. "Worry about Deculein. He is not a simple man. He may look stumped now," she adds, "but he was hailed a genius in his youth." He could be playing a far deeper game than any of us realize. And she has no idea how right she is. Because her trick had been perfect. She made Ephorine's mana vanish and rigged it so the blame would land squarely on Ephorine. But Deculein saw through the entire scheme at a glance, and instead of exposing her, forced her into a silent compromise. "I know everything," his eyes said, "so play along." It was a threat she had no choice but to accept. "I thought he was just an arrogant man with a little talent," she admits, unnerved. Just what kind of person is he? A few days later, Deculein does something he'd rather avoid. He attends a glittering noble social event. He can't stand these things. But he can't pass up the chance to earn precious store currency. He needs at least 5 of that currency just to unlock the system's shop. So he resolves to network and to scout the named characters who could keep him alive. The hall is packed with high nobles and faces he designed himself. The flattery flows. The same nobles who fear him now fight to introduce him to their sons. But one name makes his pulse jump: Ganesha, one of the strongest possible allies in the entire early story. If he can recruit her, his odds of survival change completely. To be continued. First, an obstacle. Ihelm, Deculein's old university rival and now a high-ranking researcher, swans over to gloat. "How's the research going?" He needles, since it hasn't progressed an inch in 3 whole years. The old Deculein would have seethed. Wu Jin just finds him tedious. So he ends it bluntly. "Enough with the ice balls," he says, "and get lost, you rotten cheese-like bastard." Ihelm sputters as Deculein walks off to find his real target. While Ihelm corners him, his real quarry slips away. Ganesha has vanished into the crowd. To lose her over this idiot, he thinks, would ruin everything. He shakes off the leeches and goes hunting. And to his luck, the woman he came to escape the crowd for is the very one he needed. There she is, Ganesha, and his restraint isn't kindness, it's math. Ganesha is a named character who could kill a man with a single strand of hair. Make her an enemy, and no assassin on Earth could finish the job. She's wary. She once failed a secret mission for the old Deculein, couldn't deliver a magically gifted child, and refunded the fee. Now she fully expects the villain to have her killed for it. Instead, Wu Jin asks her something no one expects. Until when, he says quietly, "Do you intend to keep living like that?" The old Deculein destroyed everyone around him, chasing his own fame. "But he tells her, "am going to live differently now." Ganesha just stares, completely thrown. And he means it for survival, not mercy. Her traits are invincible body and master of all martial arts. Sending an assassin after a monster like her would only get the assassin killed. It works. The system marks another death variable as avoided instead of overcome. By choosing not to make an enemy of Ganesha, he's quietly erased one more route to his grave. Then he does the unthinkable for the social butterfly Deculein. He leaves early, without so much as glancing at his fiancée Julie, fueling fresh rumors about the cold couple. But Wu Jin doesn't care about gossip. Side quest complete, the system chimes, and a little more precious store currency drops into his pocket. To be continued. A week on, his brutal body magic training nearly kills him. An ordinary mage would have died outright. Only his rare traits let him survive carving spells into his own flesh. So he gets disciplined about it, building a punishing daily morning routine to toughen the body that has to carry all that power. Then real trouble arrives. A notice from the Magic Tower, an audit hearing in 6 months to review Deculein's research, which has been frozen for years. Translation: if he can't show progress, they'll strip the title of professor right out from under him, and a disgraced, powerless villain dies even faster. He searches Deculein's laboratory and finds it abandoned, untouched for ages. The real Deculein hadn't done genuine research in years. Then his sharp eyesight catches it, a heap of junk in the corner that sits, unnatural. Something's hidden here, he realizes. The lazy villain never even bothered to look. But buried in the dust is encrypted research, locked so no one could steal it. Wu Jin turns comprehension on it, and the cipher simply dissolves. What pours out is blinding, golden brilliance. The research is genuinely, staggeringly good. And then he sees the truth of where it came from. Ephraim's father had been Deculein's researcher. This masterwork, the one that made Deculein a legend, was the dead man's stolen life's work all along. So Wu Jin makes a decision that is equal parts survival and atonement. He'll finish the research with comprehension and credit the true author, listing Ephraim's family beside his own. Meanwhile, the class's 30 commoner students, looked down on by every noble, want to form a club so they can survive the year together. But a club needs a supervising professor's signature, and not one professor will lower himself to sponsor a pack of peasants. Then someone has an idea. What about Deculein? He looks down on everyone equally, noble and commoner alike, which somehow makes him the fairest option they've got. And you, they tell Ephraim, caught his eye at that hearing. You ask him. She wants nothing to do with the villain, but the choice is made for her. And as if summoned by the argument, a cold voice cuts in behind them. Move, says Deculein. The whole table freezes. To be continued. Steeling herself, Ephraim blurts it out. We want to start a club, professor, and we need a supervising signature. To everyone's shock, Deculein agrees. Send the details to my office, he says, and signs. The most hated man in the school just did the commoners the one favor no one else would. Why? Ephraim thinks, staring at the signature. Just like at the hearing. Why does the man who ruined my family keep being kind to me? Then comes his lecture on the pure elements. And he does something no genius bothers to do. He teaches the deep theory beneath the magic. He layers a water-summoning circle over a fire one, and the flame begins to move like a liquid. Fire flowing like water. The students gasp. Most so-called geniuses cast on raw intuition, he explains, and to them, theory is just a rigid mold. So every spell they make comes out the same shape. This is the paradox of magic. To reach the heights you need intuition, but no genius can ever teach intuition. He, uniquely, is teaching the thing that can't be taught. Yet she fights the warmth. Sympathy, maybe, she tells herself bitterly. He drove my father to death. Even if he's kind now, it can only be fake. If he truly repented, he'd confess his crimes to the world. That, Ephraim admits, was nothing like the rumors. I've never focused so hard on a lecture in my life. Slowly, against all her hatred, she's starting to learn from him. Later, harassed as always for being a fallen noble, she finds a strange document shoved at her, a sponsorship certificate, which she's sure is a cruel fake. Perfect, she thinks bitterly. I'll report the forgery and claim a reward. So she marches it straight to the magical administration office to expose it. It's real, the official tells her. The seal is genuine. She's been sponsored 100,000 elm by an anonymous patron. She nearly faints on the spot. This has to be a dream, she gasps, pinching herself, packing an emergency bag in case it all vanishes. She has no idea the quiet patron who saved her is the villain she swore to destroy. To be continued. Deculein heads to a grand auction in the capital. With telekinesis as his main weapon, he needs rare, powerful metal to compensate for his still limited mana. But someone unexpected is there, his fiancée Julie. And she's come with a final message. She intends to formally end the engagement for good. And honestly, he agrees with her. No matter how beautiful she is, he has no interest in marrying a death sentence. There are far too many lethal variables orbiting this woman, herself included. There's no way I came here looking for you, she snaps, flustered. I needed something for myself. He just nods. Saying it once is enough, he says, which only fluster her more. Her presence here baffles him. The Julie I know, he thinks, isn't the type to attend an auction at all. So why has she come? Something doesn't add up. Then the auction reaches its final lot, and the room leans in. An item many search for, and almost no one ever obtains. The Snowflare Stone, one of the 10 rarest metals in the world, prized for forging the finest blades and wands. True to its name, it holds both searing heat and biting cold within a single core, perfect, Deculein realizes, for the dual-natured weapon he needs to survive. The bidding explodes. 20 million, 30, and guest 777, Deculein himself, drives it to 31 million elm. And he notices, to his confusion, that he seems to be bidding against Julie. The Snowflare Stone is exactly the kind of treasure a future legendary knight would covet too. He hesitates only a moment. It's a fortune and a risk. But for the one item that could keep me alive, he decides I must have the Snowflare Stone. To be continued. 42 million elm, and the Snowflare Stone goes to guest 777. Deculein wins it, in the most fiercely contested auction the capital has seen in years. The crowd sighs, charmed. How devoted. They whisper, the great professor outbidding everyone to win such a treasure for his fiancée. But Julie feels only humiliation. This is exactly what the old Deculein always did, parade his wealth at her, as if to say, look how great I am, now agree to marry me. For all her dignity, she had once let herself fall for him, even promised a coveted knight captain position through the match. And he repaid that trust by quietly poisoning her reputation. He is, she has decided, a man she simply cannot love, no matter how hard she tries. Every gift only deepens the wound. Watching it all is Josephine, the eldest daughter of House Frieden and Julie's sharp-eyed sister, who quietly notes that this Deculein is not behaving like the villain at all. So when he approaches, she's braced for more arrogance. Instead, he says two words that break her brain. I'm sorry. The Deculein she knows has never once apologized for anything. What is he sorry for? She thinks, reeling as he walks away. For winning the stone? Nothing about this man matches the villain she swore she knew. At home, the storm breaks. His half-sister Uriel is livid. That estate money was meant to pay for the mines, and he gambled it away at an auction. And it's genuinely lethal. The system flares red, a villain's fate activates. If he mishandles Uriel here, he dies. But golden light cuts through the red, wealthy magnate, activating at the same time. Survive this moment well, and it brings him a fortune. Death and wealth, balanced on a single conversation. So he plays the impossible card. I will give you, he tells the stunned Uriel, the position of household head. What? She breathes. The villain, handing away his own title? I'll swear it on a mage's oath, he says, the kind that kills you if you break it. He means every word. Uriel, who has cleaned up his messes for years, can only stare. And the gamble pays off. The death variable resolves, the storm passes, and the system rewards him with the store currency he's been desperate for. Then a quiet bombshell drops. Uriel von Graham Deculein does not carry a single drop of Deculein blood. And Ganesha, watching it all from the shadows, realizes this villain is rewriting his own story, one impossible choice at a time. To be continued. The information brokers Deculein hired confirm it. His half-sister Uriel doesn't share a single drop of Deculein blood, a secret even he finds surprising. They're more surprised by him. The infamous villain, calmly vowing to protect his fake sister's secret rather than exploit it. I'll keep it safe, he says simply. Then they deliver a warning. The men he outbid for the Snowflare Stone are leaders of the continent's most infamous criminal organizations. They will come to his home for it. So keep your guard up. As for Uriel's blood, he shrugs it off. From the very beginning, I am not Deculein, he thinks. Whether she's my real sister or not, I'd treat her exactly the same. So they bury the truth. He turns to the system store, where he can buy a precious upgrade, improvements in mana quality. But there's a catch. Only 6 purchases exist in the entire game, 1 per level, so every choice is sacred. Alan brings a wanted poster of a figure who is the single greatest threat to mages this early in the story. So he's begun to appear, Deculein murmurs. No cause for concern, not yet. Then he stuns his assistant. Alan, do you have any interest in becoming an assistant professor? Alan nearly collapses. But you always said I lack talent, he stammers. Deculein, just hand him a bangle bearing the Deculein emblem. The truth is, Alan's organization and loyalty are flawless. Every servant who hated Deculein's cruelty fled, yet Alan stayed and carried everything. Go home early, Deculein adds, and buy yourself a proper dinner. Professor, this is too much, Alan protests, eyes shining. The man rewriting the villain is collecting fiercely loyal people, one kindness at a time. Later, hunting through the staff library for Ephraim's father's flawed research and for grimoires to sharpen his telekinesis, he finds an intruder. And why? He asks coolly. Is debutante Sylvia hiding inside a staff-only library she has no permission to enter? She freezes, caught red-handed. To be continued. Sylvia, the proud high noble, is mortified. Do you want the disciplinary committee to convene again? Deculein asks. Over you sneaking in here? Then he sees what she's actually hiding, romance novels. Written in ethanol, no less, just to understand fairies. Your purpose, he says dryly, was to read love stories against regulation? I'll let it slide. This once, he says, leaving her scarlet with shame. But privately, Sylvia is rattled by something else entirely. How? She wonders. Can Deculein even read ethanol? It's nearly impossible. Then attention turns to the mountain of darkness, a forest near the school. A training ground and a treasury of magical materials, but crawling with beasts and venomous monsters. They still need an on-duty professor to supervise it this week, and no one wants the dangerous post. I'll do it, Deculein says at once. Truly the epitome of a professor, the others gush, leading by example. And the system agrees, a side quest, the darkness of the magic tower, with a store currency reward he badly needs. But something darker is stirring up that mountain, something that turns this whole game into a horror story once the sun goes down. It's so dangerous the magic tower normally bans students from entering at night. Exactly the kind of place where a careful man can quietly farm rewards or a careless one can vanish. Meanwhile, Ephraim treats her new commoner club to a feast, finally able to afford it with her mysterious sponsorship. Their first happy gathering. Then they hear it, a cry for help drifting from the dark. Ephraim, kinder core, races toward the voice. Please, it sobs, help me over here. It's a trap. Something lunges from the shadows, and just as it strikes, Deculein appears between her and death. Open your eyes, he says. That is not a person. You were caught in an illusion, he tells the terrified girl, the kind only demons weave. The crying victim was bait, and the thing that made it is very, very hungry. A demon emerges, furious at losing its prey, a core glowing on its forehead, master of illusions. But Deculein's iron will shrugs the mind magic off completely, and then his blood answers. The Deculein lineage awakens, an ancient bloodline famed for hunting demons since time immemorial, flooding him with righteous, burning hostility toward the creature. Because the demon's arrival is a signal. It marks the true beginning of the story, the moment the game starts moving on its own, the game without a player. To be continued. Ephraim wakes in the infirmary, the demon a blur in her memory. The mountain of darkness has been sealed off, and the dark beast is still out there. And once again, she learns it was Professor Deculein who saved her. Of all people, she groans him again. The man she hates keeps becoming the man who rescues her. A kind classmate fretted over her sickbed all night, a small warm spot in a cold world. Don't scare me like that, she says. Ephraim just smiles. I actually slept great. In class, a shock. Alan is introduced as the new assistant professor. Deculein has never taken one before, and the move quietly builds Alan a record toward becoming a full professor himself. Then comes a brutal mastery session, a magic task to be completed within 3 hours. Ephraim grips her late father's bracelet, her treasured artifact, and tries to focus. But her mind is a storm. Why? She keeps thinking, did Deculein leave my father to ruin, only to act so caring toward me now? She can't think straight. Sylvia finishes in 25 minutes, a genius to the bone. One by one the others complete it too, and Deculein dismisses them. You may go, until only Ephraim is left, the single student who couldn't finish in time. Am I really, she whispers, such an idiot that I can't even do this? She's crushed. 5 hours and 47 minutes in, and Deculein is still there, still waiting. How long? He asks coldly. Do you intend to keep me waiting? Then he gives her the hardest lesson of all. Even when someone mocks you and races ahead, even when your enemy stands right before you, you must always remain cold. Always. If you stay this pathetic, he says, you will never even reach my feet. I'm disappointed, he adds, turning away. I truly thought you were a gem. And something in her snaps awake. So what she thinks, fist clenched. So what if someone like you is disappointed in me? I can do it, she swears, tears and fury together. I can do it. Definitely. The villain's cruel challenge has lit a fire the kindness never could. To be continued. Deculein's harshness was calculated. He spent 6 hours on her, he reasons, because a storm is coming. When the era of overflowing evil arrives, the story will need a named hero who can turn the main quest. Right now, Ephraim lacks the mindset of a true mage, but if she breaks through, her growth will be monstrous. Fate, he thinks, is just an excuse for those who refuse to strive. The only thing I believe in is myself. He isn't waiting to be saved. He's building his own salvation. And it works. At 6 hours and 25 minutes, Ephraim finishes, and the quality is good enough to compete for first place, weaknesses and all. I want nothing to do with you, he admits, but I cannot wait to see how far you'll grow. On his way home, a far bigger problem finds him Zeit. Julie's older brother, the head of House Fried Inn, and the man who pushed the engagement in the first place. And he is dangerous. Zeit ranks third in combat power this early in the story, stronger even than Ganesha, a named warrior renowned across the continent for raw might. Is this, Deculein wonders warily, another death flag, raised by that snowflare stone? Zeit's Midas. I've heard things aren't going well with you and my sister, he says. Let's have a dinner this week. And he leaves no room to refuse. Zeit prizes family above all else, so antagonizing him over Julie could be lethal. Deculein has no choice but to accept the meeting. And there's the trap inside the trap. Zeit prizes his family above all else. Interfere with his sister's happiness the wrong way. And even Deculein has no idea how the third strongest man alive might react. The next day at the Fried Inn estate, Julie flatly refuses to come. We fought, she says, and I'm busy training the knights. I have no time for him. Are you really sulking? Zeit asks, just because he outbid you for one snowflare stone? That's not it. She snaps, more rattled than she'll admit. You once called annulment foolish, he reminds her, and said emotion has no place in a political marriage. No one alive loves you more than he does. Do you have feelings for someone else? She has no clean answer. If there's a problem, he says, settle it face to face. Show up to the dinner. Cornered by her own brother, the woman fated to kill Deculein is forced back toward him. But in the shadows, a new danger stirs. One of Julie's devoted knights watches her suffer under this arranged engagement and decides it is unacceptable. Today, the knight vows, I have found the answer to all my doubts, the way to prove my loyalty. I will be the one to bring my lady happiness. And just like that, another blade turns toward Deculein. There, part 1 ends. To be continued.